this morning then, we have a presentation now from Helen Keron. So Helen is the Galloway Glens Education and Community Engagement Officer at the Galloway Glens Landscape Partnership Scheme based in Castle Douglas in Scotland. Helen oversees the Galloway Glens Education Programme, which includes the delivery of a range of projects that will provide heritage skills training, real-world life experiences and education opportunities to the community. Helen's been extremely busy throughout the pandemic, creating and delivering a range of virtual events. And we've also heard a lot of the great work of what they have been doing at the Galloway Glens. So Helen, over to you, please.
Oh, thanks very much. I will say, first of all, that we've got some builders out the back. So if they start up again, I'll plug into headphones. That should help, but we're okay at the moment. So I'll just share my screen. Thanks for that lovely introduction. Yeah, I work for the Galloway Glens Landscape Partnership Scheme. It's nice to be talking to a group of people that I don't have to explain what a landscape partnership scheme is. So that's a bit of a treat. But yes, we're based here in, excuse me, in southwest Scotland. I thought I'd just locate us here. So I guess you guys are over here somewhere. And we're here in very rural southwest Scotland. We're quite a big area for a landscape partnership scheme, about 600 square kilometres, but there's not many people. So that's how we got away with us. We've got 35 projects going on. Again, 2018 to 2023, we just passed our halfway mark, which we weren't planning to do in the middle of a pandemic, but that's how life goes sometimes. Obviously co-funded by the Heritage Lottery. We're hosted by Dumfries and Galloway Council, which is a different way to do a landscape partnership scheme. So they're my employer. But obviously because of the partnership scheme nature of it, we have all of our partners, which is the key point of it. And again, as ever, connecting people with their heritage and supporting sustainable rural communities. So I wanted to focus a little bit on, Heather and I had a good catch up a little while ago, and she was interested, I think, particularly in our community archaeology project. We've done a few other things. Your talk, Lizzie, made me think of some outside of schools, young people work that we did. We maybe could come up in the breakout room, but focusing on our community archaeology project and in particular our online events. So it's Can You Dig It? It's one of our headline projects. It's match funded by Historic Environment Scotland, and it's going to be a 3-year project. So it started fairly conventionally last year with digs and explorations and workshops, and we had more of the same really planned for this year. But then, of course, all bets are off. So we transitioned quite quickly, and I think that may be the key to it, because I think we did all our learning when no one was looking in May. Lizzie, your points about not getting great attendance, I'm going to come on to that. So we've been doing it fortnightly since May 2020, different events, different speakers. We tried different times, we tried different formats. We've kind of zoomed in now on what suits us, what works for our guys. But it has worked out really well for us. I guess if we were to talk about some of the administration, I think this is relatively routine now. Because of our core funding, it's free. And I'll come on to that a little bit later. So it's free to attend. You book through Eventbrite. We deliver over Zoom, and we deliver in this meeting mode that you're in now. And I see increasing people doing webinars, and I wonder if we should be doing that, especially when we've got, you know, a few hundred people attending. But I really like the feeling, and I think that is one of the reasons why it's been so successful is this feeling of community. And just like you guys were saying hello to each other when you came in, we can do that as well. And I think that particularly in these times, that's important, that you do get a little bit of a sense of community. Whereas I think a webinar, you sit and you are broadcast to, and then you can almost start to nitpick as to why it's not as good as Sky Arts. And the point is that it's not Sky Arts, it's just us doing our best. So, for me personally, I really like this meeting mode. We record and then we publish on our Galloway Glens YouTube channel, and that again has proved really successful because the advertising goes well and then people can't make it, and we get repeated requests, can I catch up with this another time? And the YouTube videos get good views. We kind of top and tail them, we send them to a videographer and he spends a couple of hours, and so they're all idented up Galloway Glens, and then they got the credits at the end, and then we put further reading in the top comment. Because we always try and think about how to take, you know, so you've had a lovely hour listening to these experts, but how could you take it further? How can you follow up that interest and spark a bit more kind of self-led research or something? So that's the routine we've got into, which seems to work for us. You can pick up, if you are interested, you can pick up just go to YouTube and search for the Galloway Glens. There's various ones on there now. I guess in terms of the admin learnings, I mean, it's hard to say what people are interested in. We found that the Eventbrite automatic emails, some people don't get them. They either go straight to junk or spam, or because I think they're a picture embedded in a email, they were coming up blank for some people. So I get in the habit of, and I noticed you did this as well, Heather, of downloading the attendee list and just sending an email from myself to people. A, I think it reinforces the personal connection, and B, it avoids any problem with that, with other systems not liking the Eventbrite system. People in the early days, I think everybody's got better at this. People in the early days were confused that the Eventbrite ticket was not enough to get them in, that they had to wait for the Zoom. But I think people are better at that now. Zoom security is really important. We thought we were on it, and then we got Zoom bombed relatively. Well, it wasn't. It was about 2 months in, so it was probably the worst case scenario, and that we'd all relaxed into it, and it was horrible. You know, it affected me for quite a few days afterwards. They were saying awful things. They wrote awful things in chat. They annotated the screen share. It was quite scary as to what people can do. And of course, they knew what they were doing. So, but that's not to put anyone off, but it's just to say that you can't overlook it. And there's things you can do, and we're locked down now. As long as no one can screen share, so long as people can't unmute themselves, then you're all good. And in fact, the most recent update of Zoom has a red button at the bottom. Heather will be presiding over it right now, I'm quite sure. And it says in red, mute all participant activity. So that's what you want. That's the red button. Boom, everybody shut down. So, so it's a thing, but don't let it put you off, is what I would say. It's important to support your speakers. We all popped in for a few minutes before this and had a little chat. It relaxes everybody. It's really nice. And quite often I don't end the meeting, you know, when you do a leave meeting and it just goes blank, and then all the speakers are left on a little bit of an adrenaline high, but just in their living room. So I ask the participants to go, and then we have a little 5-minute debrief at the end. And again, the speakers have appreciated that. They've appreciated the whole experience and have enjoyed themselves. And polls, I'm going to come on to this now, but Zoom has a poll feature, which is fantastic if you're externally funded, and also if you want to get better, because you can, you know, it's really hard quantitative data about how people are enjoying it. So if I get onto that, format. So we tried pub quizzes. We do in conversations. They're quite good with less confident speakers. We ask them pre-arranged questions and they reply to the questions. A lot of people like that. Not that we spring anything on them, but they enjoy that. Or, you know, you might have a very professional speaker who just goes, "How long have I got? Right, I'll be there with my slide pack." As I've said, Zoom in meeting mode like this. I do an introduction about the Galloway Glens and can you dig it, and then we go into the presentations, 1 or 2 of them, because it's our community archaeology programme, and so we have professional archaeologists delivering it, and so Claire, we always do a 2-man team, and she mans the chat function and the waiting room and everything like that. And some of my other fellow project officers have done it, and I didn't realise he was doing it. He was doing it all on his own. So he was presenting, he was managing the speakers, he was managing the waiting room, he was managing the chat, and it's just too much. So I would say a 2-person team is really what you want, and then you can swap. So then Claire does the Q&A to the speakers because she knows what the questions mean, unlike me. And then I swap to managing the chat and the security and the waiting room and things like that. So I would say a 2-person team is essential. We tried timings when we were in full lockdown. We did some afternoon ones, but as lockdown eased, restrictions eased, it's got to be evenings now. That's people were very clear with us about that. But we also got into the habit that it was every second Wednesday, so people know to expect it. They know to look out for it. So Lizzie, just going on your point, this was our attendance through time. So that first one, I think that first point is 30 people, and then down, and then 10. That was a pub quiz. I thought the pub quiz would go better. People did not enjoy the pub quiz. But then we had a very popular one. I think that might have been Viking Tales. And then that was rock art, you know, the cup and ring markings. So it depends a lot on the topic. People definitely love the topic. And then this was Viking Tales again, and so I thought that would be a big one. So I wonder if people are getting a bit close to Christmas. You know, you can overwork these things. But I guess my point is a decided and dramatic upward trend, certainly in those first few months. So I would say, Lizzie, don't get don't get downhearted, you know. Sometimes it takes a while for people to appreciate that they're happening, that they're worth going to, that, you know, it's worth putting them in the diary for next time. Oh, I lost my thing. So this for me is a really interesting thing, and I always have to say this massive proviso. This is a poll from out of the Zoom meetings. It's important to remember it doesn't include people who won't or can't access online events. So all these polls are only from people who have managed to make it onto a Zoom meeting. So there will be people sitting at home missing the events in their town hall. Absolutely sure, and I'm not discounting those people at all. So we certainly are all desperate to get back to live events when we can. But with that proviso, if I look here, sorry, for the rock art, it was sold out at 500 people. I can't take more than 500 people on my Zoom, because I mean, you can obviously go more, but I was worried my computer would melt. So we're managing a waiting list there, and we sneaked in a few extra people, but that's what I'm saying. So in a town hall, you'd be delighted with, speaking for ourselves, we'd be delighted with 60 people, 90 people. You know, you can't fit any more than 100 people in. So, you know, those are the levels that we're used to working at. You come back buzzing because then 60 people are shipped up to Cooperbury Parish Church Hall. You know, and now you're suddenly getting 300, 400, 500 people dialing in. So it's a step change. And so we did ask these questions. Would you have attended this event if it had been held live in the Galloway Glens area? And these are two different events, September and October, just overwhelming. Yes, no, yes, but prefer online, which is interesting because this is the community of people who do live here but don't want to go out in the dark, have restricted mobility, have childcare obligations. You know, these are people who can go but would actually still rather stay in their living room. And then here, about 10% in both cases, yes, and I would have preferred that. And then obviously there's all the people we didn't ask, who are the people who can't access Zoom. So, but really overwhelming. So then when you look at it, we then asked another one, where are you dialing in from? So this is Dumfries and Galloway. This is Scotland, UK, Europe, Americas, Canada, Asia, Australia, South America. And this is bearing in mind the time zone difference. I mean, people were dialing in at 5 in the morning for a topic that interested them, and knowing that it was on YouTube. So I think the appeal there is that they can ask the Q&A for the experts. You know, because when you're watching it on YouTube, you're not getting that interaction with the experts that we're offering. Speaking personally, everybody has their own local politics. Speaking personally, from what I'm particularly pleased about is that this Scotland branch here was a lot from the Central Belt, and Dumfries and Galloway tends to get overlooked a lot by the Central Belt, where the money and the power is. So it's been really pleasing for me to see people dialing in from the Central Belt and really seeing that Dumfries and Galloway, you know, has a lot to offer, has some amazing built heritage, and can tell people about it effectively. So I was happy with that and delighted to get all our overseas visitors as well. And then very happy with this core community who are local. That was a one-off. We can come on to hear that a bit more. That was just one event that I polled, that wasn't over all the events. Here, reasons for joining. What interested you about this event? The main one is I can access it from home. And then neck and neck with that is the technical content. So that ties in with this chart here, which is at the end of it, or the very last one that we did. I said, how many of the 15 Can You Dig It events have you attended? And most people were 1, which ties in with people being interested by the technical content. But then you can see here that some people have accessed more than 10 events, and that's because I think that they trust us, they're interested in the locality, they know it'll be an interesting and educational evening out. It's free is up there as well, which is important. So advertising, how did you hear about it? Facebook, you can love it or you can hate it, but it's the behemoth of social media, it really is. And again, bearing in mind that these events are online, I think you are okay to advertise a lot through social media, because if people aren't on social media, then they're unlikely to be able to access it through Zoom potentially. So although we do posters as well, I'm normally very, very conscious of the importance of the split, but when it's an online event, I think you can feel more comfortable if the majority of your advertising is also online. Interestingly, Eventbrite has worked really well for us. That was new, we never used to use those, but people follow you on Eventbrite and get notified of events coming up. So that's really very interesting. And on this one, I forgot to put in Eventbrite as an option, and I suspect that that's the other after Facebook. So yeah, Facebook's the thing, love it or hate it. So I would say in top tips, if you're planning a program or even just a few events, I would start with, when you're finding your feet, start with confident speakers who are used to presenting, because then they're quite happy to roll with the punches sort of thing. But some of our best events have been with local experts who took a little bit of persuading to get into it. But by the time then we were confident to say, no, we will do all the administration, we'll do all the hosting, you just, we'll sort your presentation, you just turn up and we'll do a run through, and they were brilliant. They were so good. And in fact, they did really enjoy it at the end. They said that they all said they had a really good experience. So that was a nice progression for us. We've talked about Zoom security, it is important. Communication from a single named person, I think that is key. I sent all the emails, I hosted all the events apart from one when I was on holiday. Claire hosted all the events. People got to know us as people and they knew that it would be us, and it's something to look forward to. Heather, is the background noise getting annoying? Shall I swap onto headphones?
It's not too bad for me. I don't know about anybody else's sound. Is anyone having an issue?
All right, okay. Well, not easy. My next point is that audio quality is key. So people will put up with a lot, but the only negative feedback that we got was when somebody's microphone wasn't really working. And so people don't mind if some of our presenters had to turn off their video because their internet connection was too bad. One chap we got the camera angles wrong and he wasn't looking at the screen. Didn't matter because what he was saying was so good and it was so clear. So the audio quality is the key. Timekeeping is less important than a town hall. When I'm doing a live event, I always I'm absolutely paranoid about timekeeping because people want to go, and you can't get up and shuffle out of a church hall seat. But of course, in an online event, people can just go when you start to bore them. So although we try not to go on and on and on, I closed one event on time early on, and actually the feedback I got was, why didn't you answer my questions? Why wasn't there time to answer my questions? So people really appreciate having the experts on hand to hear the questions and get their questions answered in real time. Sharing videos is really hard. I don't know if it's just us, it's kind of rural internet. Catherine's nodding there. We've not been able to make it work. We've created really high quality videos that look like they're playing really well to us. This is for different events, but the recipients are just, it's an awful experience. So we're sticking to slides at the moment, but then I have seen other people do Zoom meetings with videos absolutely brilliantly. So we're working it because it would be nice, but certainly in the early stages it's easier to stick to slides and people talking. And yeah, I would just say that the locality and the personal nature of it is what makes it special. I mean, I guess this is kind of a personal thing. I prefer it without the fake backgrounds because I find it very distracting when people move at that interface. And at the end of the day, this is just us doing our best in a pandemic. So, I think that that's something that people appreciate and people are very forgiving of, as long as they can hear you. Wrong way. So in conclusion, I think we were surprised at what a great way it is of reaching people from outside your area. We were absolutely blown away by the range of people that we got to. We really were just hoping to replicate our town hall meetings with sort of 40, 50, 60 people. So really surprised by that. It's also super accessible, and I think this is really important. We've had a lot of requests, particularly from our Galloway Glens community of interest, to keep them going post restrictions. People who do struggle to get out and about are suddenly included. It's suddenly a level playing field for everybody. And so, I'm desperate to get back out and about again, but we will keep this going. I'm trying to work out what technology I need to have something going in a town hall that is also on a Zoom meeting, and that the people in the Zoom meeting can ask the questions just like the people sitting there, because that for me would be the perfect combination. Also feel with the recording, you know, the talks that we have are so good, they're so interesting, and they're by experts in their fields, whether it's local or regional. And then if you were there, it's amazing, and if you weren't there, then it's gone. Poof. Whereas with the YouTube recording through this sort of thing, then it's there for forever, which is a fantastic legacy of the Landscape Partnership Scheme. People feel comfortable joining with no knowledge of a subject is less of a commitment. You know, if you get halfway in and it's boring the socks off you, you can just hang up. The chat, this perhaps is for other meetings that we've had over potentially more contentious issues. The Q&A moderation means that the events remain really cheery and productive. You can't have, I'm sure we've all been in town hall meetings where the speakers have spoken and then one person stands up, lobs in an absolute grenade, and everybody just goes, oh, no more questions. Everybody can't wait to get out of there. You know, whereas with a chat Q&A, it's I guess because it's moderated and we found it works really well, especially for areas that are a little bit more controversial or interesting, where you want to draw out and get the nuances. Technical content is more of a draw than the local angle. That's what we found. You know, if you get the great speakers in about areas of niche interest, then people come from all over. Just circling back, you could charge. I mean, again, I guess now I'm talking to the community groups rather than the Landscape Partnership Scheme. Our guys said that they would pay up to, some people would pay up to £5, some people would pay up to £3, but a third of people said they came because it was free. So it depends on your, you know, I know life's difficult, so it depends on personal circumstances of the individual groups, but be aware of that. I feel like we built up a really lovely community by the end of it. Some of them I knew in person from the 2019 work, some of them I don't, but you know, you see the names coming in, you see the faces, just like you guys, I can see that with yourselves. And it had some really unexpected consequences. The local University of the Third Age have started their own discussion group. They all make sure that they watch us on a Wednesday evening and then they convene on a Thursday morning to discuss in more detail, which is amazing. Love it. And another Scottish group is a way to start their own landscape partnership scheme, which I take my hat off to them. It's ambitious, but I'm quite sure that they'll get there or something similar. So you know, it's amazing really when you just sort of set off what unintended consequences it can have. So that was all from me.